Are we going to sign him? Is it going to be Harbaugh? And then one of the other guys I didn't even mention who gets hired, Raheem Morris, who I mentioned in the Broncos talk last year. Like Raheem Morris gets hired this go around, and I said maybe give another guy, a different guy, a second chance at coaching. Someone who didn't quite have a tenure so much behind him and had an opportunity to learn from their mistakes. So it's yeah, I just sit here and look at the coaching options that are out there for all of these teams, and even the ones that are left. And it's like, man, I probably would have taken 2 out of the 3 of those over Sean Payton, and Sean Payton and Bill Belichick probably would have been a wash.
But Bill Belichick doesn't lose you a first-round pick.
Well, that's probably why it's a wash, though.
Because, I still don't like the idea of Belichick.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying, and it's kind of like it's a wash because, yeah, you don't lose your first-round draft pick, but also how long is Belichick around for on this go-around? Is he just trying to get his, total wins record and then kind of peace out? So yeah, that's why it kind of becomes a wash, because I think Sean Payton is a longer term possibility as a coach. But I brought this up, Joe, earlier, and I'd like to get your take on it. Is I said if Sean Payton gets his guy, gets his quarterback, and it looks like absolute, Hackett crap this season, and Vrabel's still out there next year, you cutting ties with Sean Payton to go get Vrabel?
Yeah.
Are you giving him 2 years with the new quarterback? Like, I'm talking rookie quarterback. Broncos move up, get a quarterback. Excuse me.
I mean, it depends. It could go a whole myriad of ways. The rookie quarterback could have a couple of good games. It could be like Drew Lock, where he looked okay and just needed to build on some stuff. And in that case, you don't want to change the system, change the offense, get a whole new coaching staff right away. If there looks like there's some promise. But if the games that you're losing seem to be because of coaching, then I think you need to just bite the bullet and change the system and move on, but not change it. Obviously, it was like 4 years in a row that like Drew Lock had. And we're hoping that the rookie is better than Drew Lock anyway. But yeah, I really just, it's too determinative of how many games they lose, how they lose those games, how good the quarterback looks. Does it look like the offense is holding him back, or does it look like the offense is going to be too much for him, or who knows? Like that's going to be really tough to just straight up say, but I'm more than open to the possibility of moving on and just getting the right guy, whoever that is. I really don't care. If you can be sure after next season that Sean Payton's not the guy, then that's it. You just move on, find somebody else,
Well, and see, that's where I sit there and I'm like, if it's bad, if it's a 3-win team, even with a rookie quarterback, and yeah, maybe he shows flashes. Sorry guys, see you later. And I'm going Arizona Cardinals on it. New coach, new quarterback. Like if the new coach wanted to bring in another or a different quarterback, because I think a guy like Sean Payton showed this year that he can get the most out of his guys with the wins that they got. But if it looks bad and he's not able to adapt and communicate with the rookie quarterback and the season is bad, I say you gotta cut bait with that.
Well, we saw his communication skills this year.
Yeah, we did.
And that was just with the
Sorry, what?
Thanks for joining us, Joe. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what. I don't know. This season the Broncos have to win games. I mean, it is Sean Payton is on an absolute must-win trajectory.
Well, that's because he set himself up to be in that must-win now. When you basically are fighting with your starting quarterback on the sideline and trying to flex as much control as you can over an organization to the point where, this stuff is so out in the public that you have no choice now, because you said you wanted your quarterback. Here's your opportunity. Right now you sit at number 12. And once again, the trade capital you have is limited, but you have some. But I mean, the problem too is you want to move down in the first round. Well, guess what? Now you got to lose PS2.
Mm-hmm.
That's your high, and you're going to reset the defense now when you have a couple holes to fill instead of one of your leaders. And that's if Justin Simmons comes back.
Yeah. And
I mean,
He
Simmons
lost-
is under contract, right?
I thought this was his final year.
no, he's got one more year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. My bad.
He's
I
still
thought
under
he-
contract for
Well,
one year.
no, this year though. This year is what you're talking about, right?
This is his last year.
Well, I meant this last season we just came out of.
No, I believe his contract. I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
sure he's still
now.
around for one more year.
Oh, my bad. I thought he was done.
No, you're okay. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, I don't like the idea of trading PS2 anyway. That just bothers me. That feels like, one step forward, two steps back kind of thing. And like at the end of the day, you might have to just do that to get the quarterback that you want. But that just feels like too much. It feels like giving up too much of your team. Then you're pretty much resigned to tanking next year.
Well,
Which means that Sean
quarterbacks
Payton is pretty
too
much
that-
guaranteed to not lose his job because you traded Pat Surtain, you brought in a rookie who has to learn the system and do all that. So I feel like if they kind of go that route and gut the roster to bring in a quarterback and hope that it materializes later, I think Sean Payton's got to stay just because he won't have in the organization's eyes, he won't have had a chance to win because he never had a team that was actually capable of doing it. Because first year he didn't fix Russ, which I don't think Russ was ever really fixable. But the team looked decent enough, and then if it just gets, like I said, just gutted, like you can't really fire him or blame him for the team being bad when he had nothing to work with, even though the right move might be to just let him go and bring in, a younger offensive-minded guy or something like that. Depends on who's available next year too. I always liked Brian Daboll, but if he's, fucking shit up with the Giants again and gets himself fired and makes a bunch of mistakes, maybe I don't want that guy. Maybe I want a coordinator. I don't know. I know I don't want a defensive coach again because I don't want to lose our offensive coordinator to somebody else. I guess unless you bring in Eric Bieniemy, because for whatever reason, no one's going to fucking hire that guy as a head coach. So just make him your OC.
Well, there's quarterbacks too that have proven that you don't need to be a first rounder to be successful too. I mean, there are obviously a greater number of guys that were unsuccessful, but
Yeah. Well, there's few and far between.
if you can find a quarterback, no matter what, that can fit your offense, and you can find them in the third round,
Yeah.
then I mean, fix your offensive line, get yourself a good lineman, and pick your guy up in the third round.
What's up, Hendon Hooker last year?
There you go.
Yeah, Justin Simmons is an unrestricted free agent after this season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is his last year.
All right, my bad. I thought he was done. I don't know why. I was thinking it was him and Jewel and someone else.
No, but it's the things for the Broncos this offseason and what is upcoming. I mean, we could see another big sweeping set of changes for the team this offseason if it goes bad. And I think even if it goes bad as a rookie quarterback, I mean, if he Josh Rosen's it and it's like, what the hell were you doing? Like, then yeah, because I think, I know Arizona isn't the model franchise to follow, but I think they did a really good thing in cutting bait with their mistakes, recognizing that they made a mistake and not holding on too long. That's something that I really commend them for, to be honest with you, because they made some stupid trades, but they also just said, all right, this isn't the guy. We're getting rid of him. We're getting rid of the coach, and we're moving the next one. This didn't work. So, they weren't trying to put a square hole or a square peg into a round hole. So I think the Broncos, it feels like now they're trying to fit whatever guys they are. I mean, in whatever guys they are, to be fair, into Sean Payton's system. But that's a difference from what I talked about earlier with Vrabel. Vrabel seemed like he had the ability to adapt to his players and their playing style. When Ryan Tannehill was having his NFL Comeback Player of the Year season, he was letting Tannehill throw more. Yeah, they were still a run-heavy team, but Tannehill had did he have 5,000 yards or maybe like 4,500 yards that season? He threw for a lot of yards. I know that. And
he wasn't the starter that year early on, so I don't think he got a ton of yards because Mariota was the starter to begin that season. Remember the Broncos, the 2016 defense, the remnants, they got Mariota benched and they brought in Tannehill, and that was the game they lost with the Benny Fowler drop touchdown pass.
Was that his comeback player of the year season?
That was the year that
Tannehill?
I think it would have been.
2019 was his comeback player of the year.
2019?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because he played all the games that year and threw for close to 5,000 yards or something like that. He had 38 touchdowns and 7 picks or something like that. I remember having looked it up before.
Okay, so that was later on then when they were already pretty established. Was that the year they went number 1 seed?
No, that was
2020 was when he had 3,819 yards. 2019 he had 2,742.
And he probably rushed for a bunch then.
Rushing he had 266.
Yeah, he was never a big rusher. He did okay, but
and 185 in his 19 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, 2020 was the year. But he showed Vrabel, like I said, showed the ability more so to adapt to his guys and his players and their style. And it still felt, I went over the stats earlier this year with Russ and Sean Payton. I mean, the average depth of target, a lot of those stats are near the same as what he had in New Orleans with Drew Brees. So Sean Payton isn't as much adapting his offense to his players to best suit them. He's trying to make sure that they fit his style, which, I mean, it can be successful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't do well with it, but a guy like Vrabel, I feel like is a much better coach because he'll get the players in the right spots and put them in this space to succeed. So.
Yeah, I can see that. Sean Payton's more of an X's and O's guy, and Vrabel's more of a, vibes kind of guy where he just keeps people, where they need to be because he doesn't really – does he call plays on defense? I know that he's a defensive player, but I know that he's big on, the special teams and stuff. So it also does kind of depend on who his OC is. And for a while, Arthur Smith was doing a really good job just running the ball all day and kind of running play actions for Tannehill. So I think it would have been interesting to see who the OC would have been because Arthur Smith is in Pittsburgh now. So it'd be interesting to see who he brings in as an offensive coordinator to really kind of see what kind of offense, would be able to be ran. Because I don't know if he has had enough offensive coaching experience to be this is the Mike Vrabel system, like Sean Payton does, but Sean Payton was always an offensive guy forever. If you can tell me, obviously I've already said it, but Vrabel and Eric Bieniemy, I'm fucking here for that. That sounds amazing. I'll take that in a heartbeat, but I don't know. At this point, I almost just, if we're going to go rookie quarterback, I kind of want a coach who can help coach that quarterback on the offensive side to an extent. And it's not going to have to be, changing coordinators like with Fangio and with Vance Joseph, where they're not really designing and running the offense. But if you can give me a guy or a Ben Johnson, obviously he's going to get a head coaching job pretty soon. But the fact that he was so young, he's been in Detroit for a while, and they might be able to get, next year could be their Super Bowl year if they're good enough.
And that's another name, excuse me, that I skipped over earlier was Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
And also skipped over there was one other OC who took his name off the list. Or maybe it was the defensive coordinator for the Texans. One other guy who said, nope, I'm not taking interviews.
The Lions OC.
Yeah,
no, but the guy from the Texans did also.
Oh, did he?
There were two coordinators.
Okay.
Both of those up and coming teams. Both of their coordinators decide Houston OC stays. Both of those guys decided to stay on their team.
Cool. I believe you. I knew the Ben Johnson one. I didn't know anybody else.
Jared Johnson.
Okay.
I guess the staying.
Bobby
Slowick. Bobby Slowick. That was 3 days ago, along with Jared Johnson. But Bobby Slowick was their OC, who was also taking interviews. Despite numerous interviews for head coaching jobs, Bobby Slowick is staying with the Houston Texans.
Well, good for them.
So, he's another head coaching candidate. It feels It really feels like, I said, now that all these vacancies are filled in the NFL, that the Broncos just chose the wrong time to get a new coach.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more quality this year, and I think that's what we were complaining about a year ago at this time, was that the choices were Harbaugh or Peyton.
Yeah.
That's really what it came down to.
Or random young unknown guy. Like they would have had to offer Ben Johnson the job last year, for this year. Or like a guy like that who probably wasn't quite ready yet, but you hope that he grows into the job and that you don't stunt his growth by giving him the job. You don't coaching equivalent of David Carr.
And unfortunately, that all goes, back to my point. That even if you did hire one of those coaches and they sucked this whole year and you let them go, look at the options that you had this year.
Yeah. It's just sad to see, because none of us really wanted to trade picks. I think, you just needed to go for an unknown guy that you could justifiably fire last year. But,
Joe's come full circle also.
What do you mean?
Yes.
Colin, I've always agreed with that. The only thing that we ever didn't agree on, that we'll say for the 100th fucking time, because you don't seem to hear it, the only thing that we ever disagreed on was actually keeping Hackett. That was the only guy. Like, the idea was never a bad idea. We've said this so many times.
You guys said that you can't bring in an unknown guy.
No, we never said that. No, you always try to say that we said all this shit that we never said. We did not say you can't bring in an unknown guy and fire him next year. All we said was you can't bring back Hackett. That was always the thing. We were always even saying that, like, fuck it, keep Jerry Rosburg, because it wasn't going to be bad. I mean, it wasn't going to be bad, but it wasn't going to be that bad, and it was a good story. And it was fun. Like, that was always what we said. You were just so on about Hackett, and you kept going on and on about how it was good.
He was like an evil. He was like your arch nemesis. I don't know why you just wanted to kill the man.
Wait, me?
No, Joe or Colin. Every week it was just like I was waiting for the FBI to show up and serve a search warrant ready to kill him. Dude, tone it down a little bit, man.
We never disagreed with you on the concept.
I was like Brian Flores is still out there. There were all those ones, but it's just
Eric Bieniemy, like I say, fucking, or just pick a random coordinator from a good team. Who's the Bengals OC? I don't know. Take him.
It's worked so far. He beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, some teams keep hiring these random unknown guys.
So did Sean Payton.
But they had to trade and that was the biggest issue, was trading the pick for Peyton was the one thing that at least I never wanted to do. And I didn't trust Jim Harbaugh. I didn't trust Jim Harbaugh.
I never trusted Harbaugh.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, I guess we just got to go for an up-and-comer guy, and they didn't go for that. And I was like, you know what? I liked, Jerry Rosburg. That seemed kind of fun. But, it would have been – honestly, keeping Jerry Rosburg might have kept Ejiro Evero. But not necessarily, because he was such a big Hackett guy that he might not have wanted to stay. Or hire Evero as the head coach, and then if he's bad, whatever, doesn't work out,
But at least then you've had a little bit of a more consistent system, and you can find, you can use 2 years worth of first round picks and feel like you can do something with it.
Yeah, could have done something, but it's how it goes. But we were never against the idea. It was just keeping Hackett was the worst part. There's no way that's going to go over well.
No. That was going to end up in a coup.
Yeah. That just would have been the worst thing. You'd have players leaving. You wouldn't have your, talented core anymore. You wouldn't have had the emergence of Lil Jordan Humphrey. I'm kidding. That's not worth Sean Payton. But that's kind of where the Broncos are at right now with, looking at next year. Is like, do we even want to keep Sean Payton? It might not even be, and Sean Payton might decide after next year, like, fuck, this is a lot harder than I thought, and we still can't get a quarterback. And, ever since Drew Brees, he's never really been able to get a quarterback that was above backup level. Jameis Winston used to be that, but in New Orleans didn't really play great. And Andy Dalton was old and already a backup pretty much. And Taysom Hill is a gadget player that can throw, but
it wouldn't be the first time a coach gave up on a team in Denver. Thank you, Jim Leland.
Yeah, there you go.
Not bitter. Not bitter.
Not at all. Of course not.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on here. NBA All-Star Game is coming up next week. And the Nuggets have a total of 1.
Yeah, speaking of consistency.
Yeah. And also, even better, no reps at the Rising Stars Challenge.
Really? That's bullshit.
Not get any.
Christian Brown and Peyton Watson should 100% be in the Rising Stars.
I agree.
If Jose Alvarado was in it last year and had a breakout game, sort of, because he hasn't had a breakout year in the NBA, but like Christian Brown and Peyton Watson, especially with the year Peyton Watson has had in particular, but Christian Brown being a contributor as a rookie on a championship team, like I guess he hasn't had the greatest season this year.
No, he's having a little sophomore slump.
But come on, like.
Yeah, there was a stat out there the other day. I want to say this was 2 games ago, or maybe it was just before their last game yesterday, that Jokic has played 420 games, including the playoffs, and he's done won a championship, and the whole time he's never had anyone else be an all-star next to him.
No, he's played with former MVP or former All-Stars, but he's never had
someone an all-star on his team with him.
Yeah,
so, it was a total Colorado stat that 420 games, no other all-stars have ever played with Jokic in the same season.
And it's only the 2 guys that were former all-stars, right? Just Millsap and Gordon. Is anybody else even a former all-star that played with Jokic?
DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, I guess. Well.
Yeah, Jordan was an all-star with the Clippers.
Oh, definitely. No, that's not right. But he doesn't play with Jokic. Like he does. He's only on the court when Jokic is.
Well,
that's why I went. Well, because he doesn't really play with him.
We're talking about the same thing. They're on the same team.
Now you're just splitting hairs.
Yeah.
Well, because it's Jokic's performance. It's the fact that he is always playing so well. He doesn't have anybody who's a current all-star around him on the court at the time. I think that's the crazy thing about the stat, because plenty of teams have, little to no all-stars. They're just not good. The fact that the Nuggets win and Jokic does so well with guys around him that are not all-stars. Like if your backup is a former all-star, cool, but that just means usually that's an old player that doesn't have much left in the tank. Obviously, DeAndre Jordan is not that. He has plenty left in the tank, which we saw this year, which has kind of been phenomenal. I don't think he'll crack the playoff rotation, but God, I hope he does. I want to just see maybe 5 to 10 minutes a night at a DJ, just 1 lob per game in the playoffs.
he had a dunk last night.
Yeah, dude, I wonder if
Reggie Jackson had a dunk last night.
That bench combo, just because that one game against the Clippers when Jokic and Murray were both out, because Murray had his injury and Jokic just had a sit day for a little ankle tweak or something, and they put up Reggie put up 32, DeAndre Jordan put up 20 something with a bunch of rebounds, and there was 7 or 8 lobs from Reggie to Jordan. I'm like, that's fucking sick. We got that Lob City bench.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. I was talking to Kamaje, who works at the station with myself and Joe yesterday, and it was like, I was wrong on Reggie Jackson. I was not a fan of after what happened at the end of last year. I'll fully take that out, because I didn't think he was going to look anywhere near like he has this season. He's been a great player off the bench, and I thought he lost it. I thought that was it last year. I thought his tank was on empty, but hopefully he didn't find the Barry Bonds method of staying in sports. But
you'll get caught.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that one before.
Just ask Andre Drummond,
But it's pretty unreal what Reggie Jackson, like I said, that was an L on my part, because I was not happy with that. It was just like I got why the Nuggets brought him back, but I still I didn't like it because I didn't think he had anything and had any part of this team. I thought he was gonna stunt the opportunities for Christian Braun or or any of the guys on the bench really. So I'm gladly wrong there. Thank you, Reggie Jackson, for showing up big time.
Oh man,
yeah, Reggie's been phenomenal. But I mean, Christian Braun also kind of has been more of a like wing style guy. Like he's not only a forward, but he's kind of more of a wing defender, kind of efficient, relatively shooter, but not high volume shooter. So I think just not having to put him at the guard position has really helped a lot too with his development. So it's almost been the opposite, which obviously no one could have predicted. Like I'm not saying that anyone could have predicted that, but like he's because he's actually
but what I'm saying is that the play by Reggie Jackson was not good last year, and therefore it would hinder anyone on the court with him in this upcoming season. That's what I thought. It wasn't him like taking minutes or time or anything like that. And I get what you're saying about him handling, being more of a ball handler, Christian being more of a wing guy, but it still doesn't help when you have a guy on the court who's so incredibly inefficient and making mistakes like it seemed last year and just wasn't. I don't know what it was last year, but
that's
he's
kind
turned
of
a corner
always
this year.
That's kind of who Reggie is, though. He's always been that guy that throws up those prayer shots because he makes them more than most people do. But hey, there's my guy Clayton. But he's always going to be that guy. But when he gets on fire, oh man! Like there was a couple games last year, year before maybe in the playoffs when Kawhi and Paul George were both out, and the Clippers took whoever they were playing. Maybe it was Dallas, maybe it was somebody else. They took him to like 6 or 7 games. Like Reggie Jackson won a game or two in the playoffs for the Clippers pretty much by himself as the best player on that team.
I know, but that's not who he was last year. But that's not who he was last year with the Nuggets.
No, but that's kind of like you can kind of expect to see that. Like he was playing so much hero ball with the Clippers that when he comes to the Nuggets, he was just doing so much inefficient, like you said, hero ball type stuff.
You didn't see any of those good streaks last year.
No, you really didn't. And he didn't play a ton.
That's what I was saying is that
I
thought it was going to hurt the Nuggets because you never saw any of that streaks. It felt like his tank was on empty. Yes, you knew he could do those things. Yes, there was that possibility. But last year, everything he showed throughout the season didn't show anything to say, hey, this is a guy that you can count on next year. And the Nuggets brought him back. And I'm glad they did now. Yeah. But at first I was disagreeing with it because, like I said, there was a whole half a season where none of that showed in any of the games for the Nuggets. I mean, maybe there might have been one game, but I don't remember it, where Reggie Jackson just showed out. So one game isn't enough in a half a season or after the trade deadline to show out. But like I said, he's proven me wrong. It's just that I thought that to start, like, it was a bad idea for the Nuggets and that he was going to be a middle season trade, like get some young guy. He's going to just be thrown in as a piece, but I don't know. I was like, speaking of young guys.
Yeah, that's what I did think with the trade, giving him like $5-6 million a year was that was going to be a trade piece. I thought that they were going to try to get Jeff Green back. I figured you paid Reggie roughly that much. You go to the Rockets, who are going to probably be a selling team. Jeff Green made about that same amount. I thought that was going to be the route. But because Peyton Watson's played so well, you don't need to replace that kind of bigger forward kind of position. And like you said, with Reggie Jackson playing so well, you don't want to lose that piece either. So it's kind of been perfect. Like I didn't expect him to have this big of a role either. Like I didn't think he was going to be the 6th man and kind of be a diet Bruce Brown. Like obviously he wasn't as good as Bruce Brown, but like he's playing that role effectively and it's awesome. But yeah, I expected him to be a trade piece this year too. And just someone to kind of rework that bench and kind of get as close as you can to that, Bruce, Christian, Jeff, 3-man bench rotation with, there was
Crayola rotation.
5 minutes total. Yeah, the Crayola in the playoffs of DeAndre Jordan for Jokic to just sit for a minute in that half or whatever. But the main bench rotation was those 3 guys. And it's really nice to see that they've sort of replaced Bruce Brown with a guy who's good enough, but not as good as Bruce, obviously, because that's one of the best sixth men you're going to see outside of this side of Manu Ginobili.
Well, I mean, there's some time for the Nuggets to make some moves still. All-Star game's just coming up this weekend, so we'll enjoy watching Joker do what Joker does. Probably be the last man picked again, but it is what it is. Speaking of All-Star games, the Avs are doing what the Avs do, and that's show off their skills. McKinnon wins the one-time challenge. Georgie wins the top goalie, and Makar wins the hardest shot. Plus, he made it to the final round, and he didn't fall down this year.
He didn't. Elias Patterson fell down in his skills competition. I was so close. I put Makar to win the skills competition. If he had beaten McDavid in the final obstacle course, he would have won it. It came down to Makar and McDavid.
It was like half seconds, or it was like tenths.
It was only a few seconds, or not a few seconds.
It was like tenths. Yeah.
They were both close to each other. I'll pull it up because I looked it up.
I mean, it's just great to see those guys do what they do. And Georgie getting some love too, winning top goalie, stopping some of the shots that he did. I saw some highlights because I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I mean, I think we sometimes forget how good Georgie really is because of the lack of defense that the Avalanche have.
Yeah, well, and that's the old thing. I mean, Georgie is good, but when you're giving those opportunities to the other team so often, it's hard to stop these NHL players when they have so. I mean, these guys are good, and so when you're leaving them alone and giving them great opportunities, it was a 3.4, just about 3 seconds, really difference.
Oh, okay,
just under 3 seconds.
Okay, and I just for Colin's sake, Nathan McKinnon went out there and he picked his squad. He picked some teammates. He picked Cale Makar. He picked Georgie, and he picked one of his friends.
I was gonna say, what was his first pick? What was his very, very first pick?
Who was it, Colin? I missed that part. I think
was it Ovechkin?
Sidney the Kid Crosby, baby. Number 1 pick for Team McKinnon overall. Oh,
my name is Sid.
Number 1 pick by Team McKinnon. I told you they want to play together.
They just did, so we're happy now.
They had one game.
They couldn't win the shootout.
We're not happy until the Avs get a Stanley Cup, and
they couldn't win the shootout.
Crosby is going to increase their chances of getting a Stanley Cup.
I don't know about that.
Let them play a half a season together.
They got eliminated the first round after they lost in the shootout, so they've been enjoying Toronto, probably finding that strip club that said all NHL players get a free lap dance.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'll find that picture again. I thought I sent it to you guys. There was a strip club that said all NHL players, all NHL All-Stars get a free lap dance.
That's the most Canadian thing I've ever heard.
Right?
I love it.
We're sorry about our sign, but we just want NHL players to come in, eh? We got Poutine and Pootie.
The funny thing is in that shootout, Sidney and McKinnon both were the shooters for the Avs.
The Avs.
For Team McKinnon, and they both got blocked.
Yeah.
McDavid and Pasternak scored the goals. But Georgie blocked Draisaitl, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Right now it's Team Matthews and Team McDavid. They're tied at 3 in the first with just under a minute to go. So that's going to go to the second period, and I'm sure you could probably pull 2 more goals out of this one.
Yeah. Oh, there ain't no doubt about it.
All right. Well,
yep.
Colin, proceed.
This is the victory formation.
All right, boys, here we go. Best play in football. 6 right tight diamond victory on 1. Break.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, it's jam. The Pick'em segment, proving that Colin Zanker is the most humble man in the history of time. Least. Featuring Nick Archuleta wishing he was somewhere else. And Joe Goodwin just kind of winging it.
Here we are in the victory formation, the best place to be on a Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a much better place to be than me driving to the station in a few moments. For DU hockey, I expect a lot of goals tonight, DU hockey fans, and DU. It was a fun game last night, 40 shots apiece from both teams. But we're going to head to the college hardwood, and in the classic matchup for the first game in the victory formation this weekend, we have Duke versus North Carolina. North Carolina ruined Mike Krzyzewski's going out party last year. These guys, longtime rivals. Duke, the underdogs at plus 164, and North Carolina, the favorite at minus 198. Nick, who you got?
Give me the Blue Devils.
Of course you would pick the Blue Devils, Nick.
Well, what does that mean?
You're a little Blue Devil, you. Uppity Duke guy.
That means you're a Yankees fan, so of course you
Hey, all about winning.
Joe, who you got?
Oh, I hate Duke. Yeah, I'm taking the Tar Heels.
I'm taking the Tar Heels too because I also hate Duke.
I had a manager at a job I worked at who was just a giant asshole, and he was a huge Duke fan. Like to the point to where he would argue that Michael Jordan is overrated just because he went to UNC.
Well,
And then he would talk about what a piece of shit he is for selling his shoes for so much. And like, dude, it was hilarious how much this guy, like, I remember his wife used to tell me that she would check the scores to see if he was going to be pissed off that night or not, because it would affect his night so much. Not in like an abusive kind of way, just in like is he going to be all pissy and moany kind of way. And then when he found out that she was checking the scores, they lost those games. So he made her stop checking the scores because it was affecting the juju and causing the losses. So then she was more stressed because she had to check the score and like convince him that she didn't. And like, yeah, I don't like Duke.
Okay. Well, speaking of giant assholes, the Bucks visit the Utah Jazz and their new head, the Bucks with their new head coach. The Jazz, Mr. Doc Rivers. That was the giant asshole I was referring to.
Speaking of giant assholes, Doc Rivers.
There's no line on this. This is the Sunday night game. So, Nick or Joe, who you got?
This is a tough one because it's just a random regular season game. So you could always see like Giannis and Dame just go off, and have themselves a game. But I feel like something about, they're going to want to prove something so like Doc Rivers wouldn't have to do too much. I know he's tweaked with the roster a little bit. And Utah's on a fucking tear right now. Like they are kicking ass. I don't know who they played most recently. I also don't even know. I'm pretty sure Milwaukee's won a game with Doc Rivers, right?
They have, yeah.
They're not looking for their first.
Yeah, they lost in Portland the other night in Dame's return.
Yeah, that was funny. That's why I feel, and he really kind of fucked that game up for them. So that's why I feel like they're gonna adjust, and it might just be one of those games. I almost want to just put it on Giannis and Dame and be like, Milwaukee's going to do it, because I feel like no matter where I pick, it's going to be the opposite. I think I'll just go with I don't know, man. I like Utah. Let's just go with Utah.
Joe's going with the Utahrds. I am sticking with the Milwaukee Bucks. I like their matchup, and you're right. The Jazz have been on fire recently, but the Bucks are too good right now. Nick, who you got?
Who's home?
Jazz.
Jazz are on a 3-game losing streak right now. T-Wolves are coming in after losing one. Jazz are going to right the ship. I'm going to go Utah.
There you go.
Two Utahrds and a Duke fan. We move on to the NHL. The night game for the first set of 2 games. We're not choosing the Avs versus the Rangers. Although, watch out, Avs. I think you're going to lose that first game out. in New York. But I will say the Islanders at 20-17-12 with 52 points take on the Maple Leafs at 25-14-8 with 58 points. In Toronto, I am going with the Leafs because it's not the postseason, so they don't start losing yet. Nick, who you got?
Isles are still trying to adjust to Patrick Waugh. I'm going Toronto.
Save by Waugh. I'm taking the Islanders. Let's go.
Joe takes the Islanders. And that will wrap it up for the victory formation as I get ready to head into the station to get the dog out and into this fun weather.
Fun.
Dang, I told you I can get it done. Look at that. Just under an hour. Thanks to Michael Spillane and everybody over at e5280sports.com for having us on their show or having our show on their network. There we go. Make sure you check out the website for other great shows, The Wheelhouse, Between the Lines, and Gridiron Intel. Also, thank you to our newest sponsor, Bike Speak Sports Cards. Make sure you guys check them out as well. For Colin Zanker and Joe Goodwin, this has been the Undrafted Uncensored. See you guys next week. And as always, bet safely. Good night, everybody. Drive safe.
Go Pios!
Bet unsafely with low amounts. Because if you hit, it's awesome. And if